Brazil finally arrived at the World Cup. Brazil 3, Haiti nil. And before we get into the video, like and subscribe so that we can get the video out to more people just like this and we can pump out more World Cup content. But in today's video, we're talking about a player of our own, of a Man United player. Matheus Cunha gets Brazil through to the next round. Probably, you would think so at least when they beat Scotland. But the biggest thing was Brazil have arrived. But did they play well? We're going to talk about that in a bit. But the main thing I want to focus on today is that our number 10, Matheus Cunha, people have been underrating him. Not just at Brazil, but at United as well. I've seen so many people calling out, oh, well, Ancelotti is not doing his thing. And I agree with you. He's not, because he still needs to make a couple of changes. But then what they're doing is that they're sticking to star names that have worked in the past. The same ones that have worked in the last World Cup. So they wanted Rafinha this year because, Rafinha, Barcelona, all the hype behind that. And then they were focusing on Paqueta because Paqueta was in that trio with Casemiro and Guimaraes in the last World Cup as well. So essentially, they didn't want to change anything. They wanted to take the team the same way as it was last time. But the only problem with that is that there's no balance in this team. Vinicius, after goals, is a selfish player. Rafinha, after goals, selfish player. So if you have Igor Thiago as a striker, as they did in the first game against Morocco, what you're doing is, yes, you have an outlet, but you have two players who want goals first. So now you're depriving the striker of service in the first place. And then you also want these players to provide, which they're not going to do because they are the main men in their own teams in one way or the other. Now, behind him, Paqueta. Paqueta has not been good ever since 2022. Let's be honest, since that betting scandal, Paqueta has not been good. So we're talking about a player who is not performing, yet guess what? Carlo Ancelotti will just not change. He has a certain set of players that he likes. He has a certain set of players he doesn't like. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about Endrick. Endrick is one of the best Brazilian players to come out in the last 10 years. In that Brazilian setup, he would be a starter. He scored as well today. He scored, but then the goal was offside. So we're talking about a lethal finisher, the guy who always gets Brazil their clutch goals. In the build up to this World Cup, in the qualifying, in the previous games, it's been Endrick who's been performing. And it's not even like Endrick had a bad season, by the way, because when he went to Lyon on loan, he'd been tearing up the French league. And we can't just throw it under the carpet and say, oh, it's just Lyon, oh, it's just the French league. This guy, as a reject at Real Madrid, went to Lyon, and at Lyon he's been a starter. He's been performing. And we need to see that same thing at Brazil, especially when, if let's say this, if against Morocco, they won 3-0 convincingly, playing good football exactly as they want, and their wingers were on point, their striker was on point, their cam was on point, then we don't have this conversation to begin with. But then everybody knows, well, Igor Thiago is good for a Brentford level. But when we talk about the high level, when we talk about Brazil national team, we're talking about having to perform week in, week out. At the same time, we have to see them actually putting in a performance. We can't just say, you know what, anything is okay. We need to see good football with Brazil because Brazil is known for good football. Like Spain is known for possession football, Brazil is known for joga bonito. And for that reason, you don't play Igor Thiago. Call it what you like. You can have him on the bench. If you're struggling, you can bring him on, but do not rely on him in bigger moments. The team you should rely on, actually, Rafinha is too selfish. So you'd want to put Ryan from Bournemouth on the right. Now you put Vinicius on the left because I think Vinicius has been pretty decent in this World Cup. And up front, you go with Endrick and Cunha behind him. Because that's the weird part. Today, Cunha got 2 goals, yes. But Carlo is still misprofiling him. Anybody who's watched him at United this season, they know, yes, he's been playing off the left primarily this year. But we know he's not a left winger. But at the same time, he's been playing false 9. And we know he's not a false 9 either because whenever he plays a false 9, he dies. So essentially, we want to put him in behind, right? In behind the striker, kind of servicing the striker at the same time, having the threat Bruno does. And that is his best position as a cam. So when his attacking midfielder is his best position, you kind of take out Paqueta because Paqueta is a net negative, right? He doesn't contribute to build up. He does not have goals or assists or stats. So essentially, what are you doing in this team? Especially when Casemiro and Guimaraes would love some help. If you put in a third midfielder there, maybe like an Edison, you suddenly have some control in that midfield. Even Fabinho would do it. You have some midfield control. And that's what Brazil need to actually do something. Now, the biggest question, do Brazil actually win this World Cup? Can they actually salvage this situation? If you ask me, I don't think so. I think they're way, way far away from winning this World Cup. I think they have no chance of winning this for the simple reason that Watch how these 3 goals came. All 3 goals on the counter attack. Cunha, okay, the first one was a deflection. The second one was on a direct counter attack. The third one as well, a direct counter attack. But is counter attacking wrong? No, it's not. But what is wrong is that it could only happen when Haiti pushed the high line. Because before Haiti pushed the high line, Brazil was struggling to break them down. Exactly like we saw in the second half. They did not have any chances in behind. For that reason, Haiti put a low block in. Because of that, they couldn't do anything, just like all the other big nations that we've seen this year. When a low block is put up, these big nations can't crack the other team. And when that's a problem, you don't have what it takes to win the World Cup. Because guess what? You play a low block against France, sure, you might stifle them for a bit, but somehow or the other, one of Mbappe, Dembele, Olise, Cherki, Doué, one of them is going to break that down. Because they're not going to play possession football and break you down, but then that one lethal counter-attack is all they need. And because they're clinical, that's going to go away far away. And that's what is going to set them aside from all the other teams, including even Argentina. Because when Messi gets tired, Argentina is not a threat anymore. The only other team, as much as people are going to say, oh, no, they're not because of the draw in the first game, Spain is a strong contender. Because when Yamal is back, you can expect Yamal to play. But when he plays, there's a difference in the whole team structure and how they want to attack. More direct, and they can actually break down low blocks with Yamal. Now, without Yamal, it's a whole different story. And same thing with Brazil. With Brazil, they do not have people who can break down a low block or who are clinical. The only clinical players that they have to first of all replace Rafinha, because Rafinha is not clinical. He's more a volume chance converter. At the same time, you have Cunha. Now, Cunha, on the other hand, he has the pressing. He has almost all the attributes that you need to succeed at Brazil, especially what they're lacking, he covers. Because if Vinny doesn't track runners, Cunha definitely does. And if you want to put him in that midfield, that's the spot you want to put him in attacking midfielder. Now, you can supply Igor Thiago, sure. But then we're talking about Endrick being a versatile forward who can dribble, who can take the ball, who can pass, who has IQ, who is finishing, who has, most importantly, that Wayne Rooney strength. And when a player has that, you can't just leave him on the bench. For who? For Igor Thiago. So, if we're being real, you got to put Cunha deeper. You got to put Vinicius on the left. You got to put Ryan on the right. Because Ryan as well, we've seen him play for Bournemouth. And okay, today again for Brazil, it was more of a quiet performance. Because after 3-0, I think Carlo just said, shut shop. Because it did not make sense to me. Being that you could have actually capitalized on it. You could have gone more attacking, more aggressive. You could have hit them for 5, 6, 7 easily. And this could have been a repeat of Germany Curacao. But then the Brazil team essentially wanted to kind of close it down. They just wanted their win. They were already 3-0 up. They didn't want to take any risks. Now, they did not want the fourth. They were like, if we get a fourth, it's not a problem. But they were not forcing the issue. And this is why I think Brazil will not win the World Cup. As much as I'm supporting Brazil as well. By the way, I'm supporting Brazil. But we know that Brazil is not going to go far in this tournament. Just because you can get a couple of goals, right? It's not that hard to score 3 goals against almost a semi-amateur team like Haiti. But when it comes to the big moments, when your team is really struggling against a higher ranked nation, let's say even in England, for example. England, after the first game, you can see that they are lethal. And if they replicate that lethalness against another team, we're talking about seeing a team that can go very far in the tournament. But then if they play up against Brazil, England's going to beat Brazil for the simple reason that they're more clinical. So comment down below, how far do you think Brazil will go in this World Cup? Do you think they can actually, maybe, potentially even win the World Cup on a slide? Just like they did the last time the World Cup was in the US. Do you think they repeat this year? Comment that all down below and see you on the next one.